deadCenter Film Festival runs through Sunday in various locations. 5 locations will have screenings in downtown Oklahoma City. One of the Icon Award winners this year is this gentleman right here. Pleased to be joined by Bob Berney. Congratulations and thanks so much for stopping by our studio.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be back in Oklahoma City.
You were telling me you born and raised and grew up here, went to high school.
Absolutely. Born in Oklahoma City, went to McGinnis High School, and still have my mom lives here. There's a lot of friends, cousins, relatives here, so it's wonderful to be back.
His film that he's involved with is Gloria. The screening will be Friday night. But let's back up. How did you get into the film industry?
Well, I went to film school, and after film school, I started a movie theater.
Should we talk about where this film school
well,
is?
I went to UT Austin, which I know is a football controversy. I've stuck with the Sooners, though, but it's hard. Put a little bridge in the family. And after that, I worked as a projectionist while I was in school, and I started a movie theater, ultimately in Dallas, called the Inwood Theater. That had was one of the first theaters that had a bar and restaurant and made it a community for independent films where people after the films got together and talked about it. So that's really where I started.
And then what do you specialize in most? What do you like most? shooting, producing, behind the scenes, and in front of? How did you determine your path?
Well, really my path has been in the marketing and distribution. So at the theater, I got to see the audience and connect with the audience and see what the other filmmakers, distributors, how they were selling their films. And I think that's what interested me in it. How do you get people, how do you connect the filmmakers and the audience? Because the studios have their one way of doing it. They have their big way, which is great. But there's a lot of people a lot of films, filmmakers, and audiences that get left behind in a way by just the blockbuster. So I wanted to find out, how do you connect independent films with these audiences? And at the time, it was very small, but over the years, it's gotten to be a real business.
The Jurassic World, of course, will dominate the theater this summer, but there's tons of other films that connect more than just the eye candy.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, people go to both. I love to go to the blockbusters, but also these independent films give you a, kind of, I don't want to say too much a niche audience, but they can, because sometimes the niches are huge. For example, one of the early films in my way back career was My Big Fat Greek Wedding, where at the time the studios go, look, older audience, they don't go to theaters, only kids do. But if you don't make any movies for an older audience, of course they don't go. And that movie was it's the second highest independent film ever. Still. You were a CEO of Picture House.
It is associated with $1 billion worth of sales. You mentioned My Big Fat Greek Wedding. There's a lot of big names here of films that people will recognize over the years.
Well, one of the biggest ones, which was actually at an interim company, New Market, before Picture House, was The Passion of the Christ. So that one is still the top grossing indie film ever. And it was amazing to be able to work on that.
So many people passed that up because of the controversy.
Yeah, it was, a lot of times the studios or other other independent studios pass up films for other reasons. That one was too controversial, Greek Wedding, wrong audience, and yet the audience is huge.
Bob, how do you know? Let's look at the Greek Wedding for a second. How do you know what's a good story versus this will appeal to a certain niche audience? What do you look for?
Well, a lot of it is gut instinct and some research, and I never want to say I know, because I think in the business sort of nobody knows anything, because if you say you know, you'll probably stumble and fall. But on Greek Wedding, I think a lot of people had seen it like in their office. Maybe, you get busy at film executives, acquisitions, and I saw it. I was lucky enough to see it with a big audience of an older group. And during the screening, everybody was laughing, and this one older woman actually fell out of her chair laughing. And I was like, and she broke her hip. We had to bring in a medical unit.
Just when I thought this was a really funny story.
It continues. I mean, she was okay, but I thought, okay, people are actually laughing out of their chairs. And they got it, and it ended up being a repeat business film. So a lot of it is sitting there with the audience and trying to really, really understand what the audience, that is your customers, really are enjoying. And the other part is trusting filmmakers. I think I have a track record, history of working with the filmmakers rather than being the studio that's kind of trying to tell them what to do. I'm interested in hearing how they made the film, what they thought the audience would be, and using their ideas. For example, going back to Chris Nolan, one of his first films called Memento, he and his brother had so many ideas about how to market the film, and I was like, bring it on. Let's use those. And you know, he's gone on to be probably the top director in the world, and he knew it then too, by the way, and you could tell. But I think I benefited by really listening to the filmmakers.
It is a creative industry, and it probably is very important to collaborate.
Absolutely. I think collaboration and working with the artist is important. You know, distribution and marketing, which I do, is putting on a show. Just like making the movie or putting on a Broadway show, distribution do that. We do premieres, which a lot of them are at these festivals like the deadCenter, and I love the idea of that opening night, putting on a show, and it's tough because it's up or down. You know, sometimes the first weekend you find out if people like it or not, and then it can go both ways.
This week he's here with his film Gloria. You can find that, I believe, Friday night. If my notes are right, I believe that's...
Yeah, it is Friday night, and Gloria is a really cool biopic about Gloria Trevi. You may not know her, but in Latin America, she was one of the biggest pop star icons. They called her the Mexican Madonna, and she sold as much or more, and yet she had a really controversial and troubled career, and that's what the film's about.
Those are some of the best films, aren't they, when you can tell a story arc leading into some redemption?
Absolutely, absolutely. And this one has it. When
you look back at deadCenter, you're going to remember this for Gloria, but you mentioned that other film festivals you go to, you remember it by the films that were attached to those festivals.
Yeah, oftentimes. Like I remember when we premiered the film called Pan's Labyrinth at the Cannes Film Festival, and it got, I would say, a 30-minute standing ovation, and Cannes can be brutal.
It's got to feel pretty good.
It feels great because the other way, I've seen Cannes where when people get up and the seats flip up and makes kind of a sound, and they just walk out, or they'll just boo your film off the screen. So to get a standing ovation there for Guillermo del Toro, he was just in tears, and we had the little girl that was the actress played in it, and it was amazing. So that kind of, you know then the response that film's going to continue to go forward.
Guillermo, someday he may make something of himself, right?
There you go. Yeah, he's the hardest working guy in show business. Not only does he turn out amazing movies, but he mentors young filmmakers and is really the nicest guy in the whole business.
It's good to hear. Yeah. Well, Bob, what's next for you?
Well, next I am just starting this week at Amazon Studios. Amazon is getting into the film business, both production and acquisition, and I'm jumping in. You know, the streaming is a lot of the ways things are going in the business, and I don't know a lot about it yet, but we are moving from New York to Los Angeles, and I'm joining Amazon, and I'm really excited because I think they also believe in supporting filmmakers, and so the philosophy is the same. So I think it's going to be fun.
It's amazing how much the industry, media and film, has changed.
Oh, yeah.
We're sitting here in our newspaper's video studio.
Absolutely.
It has evolved.
Yeah, it's incredible, and I think it's a good thing. More films get made, more people get to see them in different ways. I think theatrical experience will always be kind of core to it, but there's got to be a lot of ways to do it. And I think in the end of the day, it's about creating more films and giving filmmakers a chance to get their materials to audiences.
You can catch up with this guy, Bob Berney, one of the Icon recipients this year at the 2015 deadCenter Film Festival. I believe you have a panel discussion at 1:30 p.m. on Friday. And then Gloria will be, I was trying to find this earlier, it's actually the Devon Energy Auditorium at 7:15 Friday night.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It was great to meet you, and thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
deadCenter Film Festival continues through Sunday, 5 locations downtown.